All right, so today is the big day where uh, I am going to share with you uh, one of the simplest yet most powerful things that you can do to help yourself in your life to achieve more of what you want and to experience more happiness, more peace, everything that it is that you're looking for. Um, and for those who've been hanging around for a while and hearing things that I've shared, what I'm going to share today will not come as much of a surprise to you. And for those who maybe are new and you've never heard me share things before, then it may um, you may think, and I suppose this would be true in either case, you may think that what I'm going to share today is just too absurdly simple and perhaps stupidly obvious to be of any real value, and certainly to be of any value to you, because you'll probably think that it really does not apply to you. And I am so I'm not a person who's certain about anything, but I am about as close to being certain as is possible, I think, for me to be about this. That if you think that doesn't apply to you, then I'm as close to certain as I can be. You're wrong, because I think this applies to everybody. So what I'm going to share with you is this, and I'll just lay it out for you, and then I'll also, people sometimes people complain. They say, why do you drag it on for so long when you could just keep it so simple and short, to the point? Why do you have to talk so much? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll see if I can keep it really short today. Uh, so hopefully you're ready for this. Okay. So the number one thing, I don't know about the number one thing, a very important thing, a very, very important thing, and it's a fairly essential thing. Uh, it, in order to have what you want in life is you have to know what you want. Now, remember I said you're going to think that's so absurdly, stupidly obvious that just couldn't possibly have any value for you. And yet, I really challenge you uh, for try this out every day. Take at least 1 minute, just 1 minute, and ask yourself, what is it that I really want? And genuinely consider it. Really, genuinely consider it. And if you're really brave and really serious, I challenge you further to actually write what it is that comes up within you without censoring. Uh, if you do any part of that, then, and you do that really sincerely, uh, for any significant amount of time. I mean, it's hard to put an exact number on this, but let's say I don't want to. There shouldn't be any cap on this. Like, I don't think you should ever not do this. I think as far as anything that anybody should do, put in air quotes, this is a thing that I really think should be done. Like, it would benefit you tremendously for the rest of your life, every single day. If you just took at least 1 minute, just 1 minute, and you ask yourself, what do I really want? If you just did that much, but your life would change in really wonderful ways. But if you did that for, let's say, at least a month. I've lost everybody at that point because nobody's going to do this for a month. But for those who are willing to do this for at least a month, and again, I'm not suggesting you should stop, but I'm just saying if you were willing to do this for at least a month every day, just 1 minute, 30 minutes total, it's hardly anything when you think about it. I mean, you spend more time scrolling on Instagram every day than that. Just over 30 days, if you just took 1 minute a day, you would find I'm so close to certain that you didn't know what you actually wanted. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be totally like 100% off base or anything. I mean, you might have some clues about some things that you want, but there's so much more in there that you don't know. And as they say, the devil's in the details. It's like if you don't know the details, you don't really know. Like, who is there anybody here who would turn down $1 billion? This, it's no strings attached. It's all good. It's not they like there's no harm that came to anybody from it. It's not you're not depriving anybody else. It's like totally all good. Would you turn down $1 billion? Anybody here? Would you do it? Please let me know. Because if so, I'll take it. I'll take yours. I'll take your share. Um, Nobody's gonna turn down $1 billion, right? It's like we all would be happy with that. We'd all be happy. We know the things. It's like who everybody wants the same basic things. You want to have some health. You want to have the energy, the sense that you can do the things that you want to be able to do in your day. You want to be able to get along with people in ways that feel meaningful to you, or you experience some kind of love and connection. You want to be able to have a sense of some basic material security. You want to have the sense that you have the what you need, the resources and support in order to be able to fulfill your creative drives in life. Have I kind of covered the bases? That's kind of it, right? Like that's what we all want. We all want those things. So it's like there's not a big surprise there. I mean, so if you say, well, I want the money, I want the house, I want the spouse, I want the things like, okay, yes, you and everybody else. We all we all want those things. I mean, not exactly those in exactly the same ways that we all are thinking about it superficially, but we all kind of want the same basic things. But you are unique. You are a unique expression, as we all are, right? So everybody, every single one of us, we want the same essential things, but we want them in a very specific, unique expression. Nobody else can know about that, only you. And if you think you already know that, then that's where I'm challenging you. I don't think you do. I mean, because I'll be totally honest with you, I don't. Like, not just that I don't know what you want, but I don't know for myself. I don't think any human being, I don't think any human being uh, on this planet, minus, I don't know, there might be five of them who have reached level 20. I use this term level 27 enlightenment. It's like those who've achieved the supreme state while still in human form. Okay, they're the exception, but there's not many of them. The rest of us, we've still got something that we lack clarity on. And you can spend the rest of your life, and more than just one life, uh, staying at the surface, just saying, oh, I want the house, I want the spouse, I want the car, I want the this, I want the that. It's woe is me. If only I had gotten a better deal in life, if only I'd gotten better genetics, or if I'd only been born into a family with greater this, that, or the other, then I'd be happy and fulfilled and satisfied if only I had those things. But you, ha you don't actually know what it is that you really want because uh, that stuff is just surface level. It's really just surface level. And So this one simple thing, which I've already said. So for the people who are going to complain and say, Joey, why do you gotta go keep talking, talk, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I already said it. It's already there. So you can tune out if you already got the message and you're going to do it and you want to, try it out and let me know your results. I mean, sincerely, I would like to know one way or the other. I mean, if it turns out that I am full of shit and completely off base on this, I really do want to know. I'm not, but um, maybe. I mean, there's a chance. So if I'm totally delusional, I do want to know. So please take me up on the offer. Test it out. Would you please do me that favor? Would you be willing to do me that favor? Would you try this out for at least 30 days? At least 30 days? Just take a minute every day minimum. I mean, you can take more. I'm not going to deny anybody that, but like just at least 1 minute and ask yourself sincerely, what do I really want? And uh like I'm trying to keep it really simple because I know I'm the same as you. I mean like I I'm lazy. So I'm like like I'm not saying you're lazy. I'm saying I am. I'm saying I suffer the same problems that many people have, which is that, so it's like when I say it the way I said it earlier, which was a little bit combative. I'm sorry about that. That was a little, I guess I'm in a little slightly feisty mood. Um, but when I say, oh, you spend more time scrolling on Instagram than, in a day than it would take to actually change your life over the course of a month. Uh, I like that sounds so well. I mean, number one, combative. I'm sorry again. Sorry about that. But number two, I mean, then it makes it sound like, well, gee whiz, that's so easy. I mean, anybody could do it, and it's true, anybody could do it. But I get it. Like I am like you in the sense that I don't always do exactly what's best for me. So don't feel like, oh, if you don't do it perfectly, then it's not worth doing at all. I mean, just do your best with it. Would you at least do that? Would you be willing to do your best with it? And it's like if you miss a day, okay, pick it up the next day. And if you miss a day, you could always at least take a second, couldn't you? Instead of a minute, you could at least take a second. You could just be like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to really do it sincerely, wholeheartedly, completely today. I'm not going to take a full minute. I'm not going to really deeply consider it, but I could at least just like ask the question, what did I really want? I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go to sleep, right? Like you could at least do that. If you forgot the whole rest of the day, you could at least just before you go to sleep, you could at least just do that much, maybe. And if not that much, then again, fine. The next day, just pick it up. Just be like, you know what? Yesterday I forgot, or yesterday I decided not to, or whatever. But today, because I want to actually either number one, change my life in a positive way, and really start to fulfill my complete potential, so that I can live this awesome, totally fulfilled life with no regrets whatsoever. Or at least get the pleasure of proving that Joey was full of shit. Like you could take it up that way. Because it's kind of like a win-win, right? I mean, you can't really lose in that case. Either you're going to get the pleasure and satisfaction of living this incredibly awesome life, and you might be living an awesome life now, but I mean, in some ways, you have to be living an awesome life, but you could, but the point is, you could be living an even more awesome life. And I don't mean just having the things. I mean, because you've learned what it is that you're really wanting to learn, because you have that deep satisfaction of, wow, yes, I did it. I finally scratched the itch, like I finally got it. After all these days, years, lifetimes, I finally was able to really discover what it is that I actually want and to be able to resolve that for myself. How nice would that be? Instead of the like, oh, what am I doing? What's the point of this? Oh, nothing seems quite right. You could you could actually really have real satisfaction. That's possible. So that's the one possibility. And like I said, the other possibility is you could get the satisfaction of proving me wrong, but only if you're willing to take me up on the offer. So I really encourage you to take me up on the offer and please let me know your results. Really, sincerely. I would really, really be so happy about that. Because one of two things would be likely to occur then. Number one, uh, there would be a growing body of evidence that would demonstrate the value of this extraordinarily simple yet powerful thing that just about anybody could do to dramatically improve their life. Not overnight, but over time, right? But think about how awesome that would be. You know, there's no financial investment required. You know, this is available to people regardless of what country they live in, what language they speak, what their anything, you know, their political views or orientations or anything. There's you don't have to have any particular religious orientation or anything. There's nothing there. All you have to do is just be a person who wants to either enjoy life more or at least suffer less, and be willing to just take a minute of your time each day to genuinely inquire into what is it that I really want. I think that that would be really wonderful to have a significant body of evidence, you know, like testimonials, basically, like people saying, you know what, I took Joey up on the offer for 30 days and it turned out that there was some value in it. Like it was a better investment of my time than scrolling on Instagram. Um, and so I think that would be nice because that might encourage more people to be willing to try it. Because, you know, we try a lot of things, don't we? I mean, people are like looking for answers. People are looking for things. And so I just think it would be nice to have uh some to be able to have a simple, approachable, accessible, yet very effective thing that anybody could make use of to help themselves. That people would have evidence that it works because, you know, people want to have that before they're willing to try it. So if you were willing to do that, and then report your results, that would be one possible outcome. The other possible outcome would be you could all come back and say, you know, it didn't do anything for me. You're completely wrong. I already knew exactly what I wanted, and doing this exercise didn't help me in the least. And that would be great too, because then I could finally shut my app, you know, and you know, you'd be like, okay, Joey was wrong, and I'm happy to admit if I'm wrong, but I really don't think I am. I mean, like there is a, there is a body of evidence in support of this, like my own experiences reported by people who I've worked with. So there is that. But I'm saying if you all people who are present here at the moment, people who will watch this on YouTube, if you're willing to actually put this into practice, then I think that that would be awesome, and I would really like to hear your results with that. Somebody wants to know, is this a method? Yes, doesn't have a name. We have to come up with a name for it. We can crowdsource the name here. What will the name be? And nobody here, please do not call it the Joy Lot method because that is not going to be a thing. But we can call it the 1 minute a day to a better life method. It's too long to be catchy. But the method is this: every day, take 1 minute, more or less, and sincerely ask and ponder, inquire into what do I really want. And I said for those who are willing to do so and who want the extra credit, as it were, uh, I invite you to also write whatever it is that comes up and don't censor it, whether it makes sense to you or not. Um, just be willing to give expression to it because if you're willing to do that, that will really take it to the next level. But just to be fair, you're not going to write a lot in 1 minute. So, I mean, I think that if you're going to write, but I don't want to scare people off here, but I'll say it anyway. If you were going to write, then you're probably gonna really start to get into a groove if you give yourself at least 10 minutes. Um, because what happens is if you're gonna write, uh, the, um, but this is really where a lot of the magic starts to happen. Is if you're going to write your response in an uncensored fashion. What usually happens, especially early on in the process, is that there's just so much censorship going on. You'll find that you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know. Oh, I'm just gonna, I don't, all kinds of stuff will come up. But that's not how to do it. The way to do it is just write. Write whatever comes up. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if what's coming up is this is bullshit. I don't know how to do this. It's not working. Nothing's coming up. I'm drawing a blank. You just write that until it starts. Then you start to stop to censor yourself. Because what's been going on for us. And we didn't really know it, most of us, is that we were censoring ourselves. So there are parts of us that know exactly what we want. And this is what I'm about to say is very much connected to something that I talked about two weeks ago, I think it was. Um, I mean, it's all connected, but there are parts of us that know exactly what we want, but uh, we've been trained by society that there's something about those parts which is unacceptable in some form or another. And so we've learned to shut them off and censor them. So much so in many cases that we really don't even know that we're doing it. We have put ourselves into a hypnotic trance. And this might seem absolutely crazy. Of course, it seems absolutely crazy. Uh, but but it again, if you're willing to test it out, you'll 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 probably come back and report that what I'm saying is true. As if you're willing to test it out, if you want the extra bonus where you really get on the fast track, then take the at least 10 minutes every day and write, just as I've suggested. So you just write. The question is, what do I really want? And then you write whatever comes up without censoring, without censoring. And I'm repeating this so many times. I know people are like, why do you repeat yourself? Because um, it's not just you might understand the dictionary definition of each of the words, but what's happening is I say those words in sequence. And then all of a sudden your brain does this funny thing and it's like it turns it into something else. I say write without censoring, and your brain turns that into something that doesn't mean that. Because write without censoring means honest to goodness, whatever is coming up in your mind, you write that. But most people early on, they really don't get it. Uh, so I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody. If you really do understand it, that's awesome. And I'm sorry to be repetitive and Uh, but for those who don't get it, which would be most of us, because I've been there, and I mean I'm still there in many respects. So it's not like I'm sitting on some dais up on some pedestal or something. But in regard to this particular matter of censorship, I have some insights about it because of my own experience, which does allow me to speak about it in this way. So I know that people who haven't yet had that experience are going to be in the position that I was before I had that experience, which is they're going to hear the words write without censoring. And when I heard those words, I thought, oh, okay. And then I tried it and I was still censoring myself. So whatever it is that comes up, write, you just got to write. Don't stop writing. Don't stop writing. You just got to keep writing. You got to write for the whole 10 minutes plus. Whatever, however long you're going to write, you just keep writing. Pen to paper, keep it moving. Keep it, you just got to keep it moving. Um, and like I said, at some point in there, you're gonna hit your groove and you're gonna unlock something and you're gonna realize why it is that I have just gone on over and over and over about the importance of not censoring yourself because it's going to click and you're going to say, holy cow, I can't believe that I was censoring myself and I didn't even know it. Joey was right yet again. Not that I take any particular pleasure in being right, but a little bit I do, but probably not for the reasons that it would seem like. I just find it, I just find it so interesting because, like I said, I find myself there too, so many times where I think I understand something only to find out that I didn't understand something. So that's why I'm encouraging you to just keep an open mind about this. And I think what you'll find is when you hit that groove, you're going to realize, perhaps with a shock, that you have been going around in this world for however long, I mean, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, however long it's been, completely censoring parts of yourself that have been there all along. And because the amazing thing is, as soon as it clicks, it's not going to be like something that you didn't know on some level. Could happen, but it would be unlikely. It's going to it's going to be something that you're going to say, "Oh, that. Well, I knew that, but at the same time, I don't know how I knew it. I knew it, but I didn't know it." Because that part of you, it's a part of you. The part of these parts of you are there all the time, and they're constantly communicating, but you've been in a hypnotic trance, so you didn't know. You were ignoring them. And I know, again, it probably seems crazy because it just kind of does. But I had an experience when I was in high school. I went to a residential high school, and they would or whoever organized this school, I don't even know. And this is such a mystery. I have no idea who even was in charge of the school. I'm not sure anybody knew who was in charge of the school. Um, Sort of crazy thing, but they whoever organized these things would organize these events occasionally. However often they would do it, I don't even remember because it was a long time ago. But they would organize these events to kind of entertain us students, which was nice of them. And one time they brought in a stage hypnotist, which was very impactful for me, which is why I'm going to talk to you about it now. So I'm sitting there in the auditorium with the other students, in my school, and it's dark, and up on the stage is the hypnotist, and he's he's looking for his people. So he's hypnotizing the audience, and he's looking for the right people who are the easily hypnotized subjects. And so he's got people with their arms up in the air, floating up in the air, and he's like, okay, you, and you're going to come up on stage, and he's brings these people up on stage, and the next thing I know, I see one of my roommates and other classmates up there on the stage, and they think they're horses, and they're in a race galloping around on the stage. I mean, and so people can be hypnotized into all kinds of things, and I think he did the standard thing where you can have a hypnotized subject not see something or someone that's directly in front of them, so you can make things invisible. So, but this is like this is hypnosis 101 kind of stuff, is that you can cause things to become invisible to hypnotize subjects. Uh, and so it's the same phenomenon that's going on all the time, is that within ourselves, we've hypnotized ourselves so that even though there are parts of ourselves that are absolutely obvious, we we will honestly believe that we know nothing about them. You know, and when this starts to come out, you'll probably be shocked at how much you've been hypnotized, how much you've been censoring yourself. So, uh, that's that in a nutshell. That's it. I can go on and I will, but but that is the essence. So again, for those who like to complain, you got nothing to complain about because I did give everything up front, and then I've like I'm giving everything up front. So there's now I'm just elaborating. Um, so if you do that, uh, this starts to unlock a lot of things. And notice that you're doing activity all day, every day. Now you might say, well, I don't do a lot of activity. I lie around on the couch and watch Judge Judy, which this was great because somebody put a comment in to the video last week, which apparently I said something similar about Judge Judy, and they're like, you nailed it. That's exactly what they did in their life. So, when I was just another aside, I I can make a lot of these claims that I make, which are on the face of it, it's like they're really bold and obscene. I mean, how could I know anything about anybody else? But as a child, I also watched a lot of daytime television. I watched a lot of television, but daytime television in the United States is a special animal. For anybody who's watched daytime television in the United States, they would know because it really caters to a particular kind of I don't know what to call this. Uh, uh, Way it trains people in a particular way. I'll say it trains people to perceive themselves as victims. So there's a lot of victims. It's a lot of victims. It's like, you as the person watching, you're trained to be a victim, but you can feel a little better about yourself because at least you're not as bad off as these other people who you're watching, who they drag out of the woodwork to parade around and make fools out of. It's just an awful thing. It's either that or it's reruns of Three's Company, which was I preferred. I liked Three's Company. That was entertaining. Uh, Probably not so much anymore, but as a child, it was entertaining. And I didn't even understand the pretext of Three's Company at that time. Uh, Probably wouldn't work so well today. But but there would also be these the commercials on daytime television in the United States. It's all like not all, but a lot of it is for victims. You've been victimized in this way. It's a lot of lawyers. You've been victimized. Call me. I'll help you out. So I know based on this, there's a lot of people like the people who are running all of that operation. They're not fools. They're making a lot of money off of this whole thing, right? So the because it costs a lot of money to do all of that, to run the television stations and to air the commercials and everything. So they're making money off of that, which means there's a lot of people out there who are feeling like victims. That's how I can know because I watched a lot of daytime television. Um, so we are trained, we're trained in life to perceive ourselves as victims. This is not just people who watch daytime television. It's like all of us. We're all trained to perceive ourselves as victims. And and this is and we're trained to that there are these parts of us that are unacceptable that are wrong, that are bad, foolish, undesirable in some way or another. And it all adds up, and we're just like walking around and we're thinking, oh, my life would be tolerable if only I had the money, if only I had if only I could go on the vacations, if only I had the Ferrari, if only I had the this, that, and the other, then my life would be tolerable. But what we're not recognizing is that inside of us, there are these parts of us that we have closed off from, which are actually telling us what the real fulfillment would be, what our real purpose is, why we're really here, what we really want. And some of those things might look like the vacations or the houses or whatever. It might result in some of that, but that's like, again, that's so superficial. What you really honestly want is to be yourself, all of yourself. And those parts of you which you have learned and been trained to shut off, not to shut off, but to try to deny, reject, uh, are parts of you. So, and this is an idea that is so difficult for so many people to wrap their minds around, myself included, I guess. It's really fascinating to me because I liken it uh, to understanding all the parts of yourself. You can call them psychological parts, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what you call them. I just call them parts of yourself. But if it's easier to understand them as psychological parts, or to at least differentiate psychological parts from physiological parts. So let's say you've got psychological parts, and then you have these physiological parts like your vital organs, for example. Okay. So you've got a heart. I think everybody, generally speaking, gets one heart. I don't know if there's ever a situation in which a person has more than one heart, but I'm pretty sure we generally just get one heart each. And I'm pretty sure that it we need the heart. I don't think anybody's yet figured out how to get a human organism to survive without a heart or something that does the function of the heart. I don't think that anybody's figured that out yet. So, hence the term vital organ. The point I'm making is that it's vital. You can't live without it. Is there anybody here who has no heart? The in the movie version of the Wizard of Oz, it was the who didn't have the heart. It was the Tin Man. The Tin Man didn't have a heart. Is that right? It was the Scarecrow had no brain. The lion had no courage. The Tin Man had no heart. Is that true? Anyway, but it turns out, and spoiler alert for anybody who's never seen the movie The Wizard of Oz, uh, turns out he did have a heart. He just didn't know it. But so we all need a heart, vital organ. So if a person had some sort of heart condition, right? If they had some sort of, heart murmur or something like that, you know, what sort of if you had that kind of condition and you went to a doctor and the doctor said, "Well, you've got a heart murmur," uh, and you said, well, "Okay, well, what should I do about that?" And the doctor said, "Well, you should just get rid of it." Would you keep that doctor? Anybody? Anybody want to keep a doctor who tells them to get rid of their heart? Hopefully you wouldn't keep that doctor, right? I mean, you wouldn't, one way or the other, you wouldn't keep the doctor or you wouldn't be around to have a doctor for very long. right? Because you need the heart. It seems kind of obvious when it comes to that, when it comes to your heart. But then we have these parts of ourselves, these psychological parts, and we think, oh, I should just get rid of that part, right? So your your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt, your uncle, your neighbor, your teacher, your brother, your sister, your friend, the television, Facebook, whatever it is, they tell you bad part, shameful part, foolish part, wrong part. What's wrong with you, they say. And and it's kind of like going to the doctor and the doctor says, well, just to get rid of the heart. That's the message we get. Just get rid of that part. Just get rid of it. It's bad. It's wrong. It's foolish. It's, you know, come on, what, get your, what do we say? Get you, get your feet on the ground and head out of the clouds. What are you, some sort of dreamer? What are you going to be? You're going to be a ballerina? Come on. You're gonna be a painter? Oh no. Be practical. Be a doctor or a lawyer. We don't have any room for any of this nonsense. And I'm not saying it's just about career paths. I'm just using those as like cliche examples. But it's all the things, this feeling, you're not supposed to have this feeling. That's not a good feeling to have. Just get rid of the feeling, they say. Don't, you're too much, they say. You ever hear that one? You're too much. You're like, oh, I'm too much. I'll just get rid of the parts that are too much. This is the message over and over. There's something wrong with you, get rid of it. You're too much, get rid of that. So we learn to try and get rid of these parts, but you can't. You can't get rid of the parts. So what we do instead is we hypnotize ourselves. I know it seems crazy, but hence the challenge. If you take me up on this challenge, so there's multiple layers to the challenge now, because I know some. Sorry to roll my eyes. So, because it's inevitable at some point, somebody comes along and they're like, "So what was the suggestion?" And it's because it's too complicated because there's multiple layers now. So this, so the, but I want to give multiple tiers to this because I want it to be accessible. Because if you start with just the simplest, most basic thing, which only requires, I say a minute a day, and I mean, really, you would be shortchanging yourself if you didn't at least give yourself that much. But honestly, if you only were willing to do just a few seconds a day, even that much would change your life. But I'll keep it to, let's say, a minute a day. If so, first tier of the challenge or the method, if you prefer, or the suggestion is 1 minute a day minimum, give or take, asking yourself and genuinely, sincerely contemplating what is it that I really want. If you do that, I am proposing that you will notice you will get significantly more clarity about what you want, and all of you'll start to realize the light bulbs will go on. You'll realize, holy cow, now I start to understand why my life has been the way that it has been because I was chasing after all the wrong things. I was making myself miserable, trying to be something and someone that I'm not. Uh, so that's the first tier. Second tier, which is like bonus points for those who actually want to really, really get the 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 real meat of the thing, uh, is take at least 10 minutes a day. Um, Same thing, but actually write whatever it is that comes up without censoring. And I'm what I'm saying is when you do that, uh, you you're going to start to discover all of these parts of you which have been hidden away because you were censoring them without knowing it for the reasons that I've just described. and maybe other reasons that I haven't described. But certainly in any case, it is that you have, as have all of us, been trained to uh, try and get rid of parts of yourself, which will never, ever, 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 ever work. I have to say all the evers because and even with that, some I know half the people are still thinking, well, that doesn't apply to me. We're still holding out, thinking I'm gonna be the special case. I'm gonna be the one that's gonna figure out how to live without a heart, or I'm gonna be the one to figure out how to live without a brain. And some smart ass is gonna say, well, we got two kidneys, you can live with only one of them. Same with the lungs. I get it. Yes. But the same point is valid, right? Like, I mean, so you need at least one lung, at least one kidney, vital organs. You need at least one of them. So that's the next layer of this. Uh, Now, as you are discovering what you really want, I mean, the first thing is just uh just being willing to start to allow this authentic self-expression. When I say authentic self-expression, I don't mean to take any action necessarily with any of this, but just the express self-expression of expressing what you want, just to be able to like get that out there, just to be able to admit it to yourself, not to anyone else. You don't have to put it on a banner or a flag or anything else, just for yourself. That's it. Um, so if you when you do that, then that starts to unlock things. Uh, but I'm not again, I'm not proposing that because and the only okay, I'm not proposing that it's necessary yet uh to take any further action beyond just getting clarity for yourself about what you really want. Eventually, it has to be the case that something else is required. I mean, you're going to have to, at some point, sooner or later, be yourself. I mean, it's not going to work otherwise. Um, so I'm not trying to paint some pure fantasy land idea where you can say, well, you can continue to deny yourself your authentic, full self-expression, and then but you'll still be happy and fulfilled. No, it's not. Of course not. But at the very least, you need to start. If, in my view, if you want to be really truly satisfied, happy, fulfilled, you need to at least start by knowing what you want. You need to personally start to have clarity about that. You need to have an integrated acceptance of that for yourself. Because as long as you're fighting with yourself and denying yourself and rejecting yourself and all that, then that just isn't going to work. Uh, so now, as you explore this, um, you there are lots of things that are going to come up, and uh, I I can't think of how I could possibly address all those things that are going to come up uh, today in this one meeting. Um, but I know some people are looking for that. Some people are thinking, Well, there should just be this one, uh, there's this one simple answer, and I just want that, one simple technique. If I just have the one simple technique, that should be the one thing that does it for me. Uh, and like I have sometimes said, that's more advanced than me. So I don't have that yet. Uh, but I think that what it is that I'm sharing is much more practical for the the rest of us, other than the small minority who are already so enlightened that all they need is the one thing. Uh, so for the rest of us, I mean, if you have not found the one technique, the one whatever it is that you snap your fingers and everything is as you want it to be, forever and ever, then you might find that a more practical approach that might be more complex will give you better results more quickly than continuing to hold out for the one thing. I could be wrong, but that's where I'm coming from. So, but I'm just trying to be upfront about it. I'm not suggesting that you do this one thing that I'm saying today, and then all of a sudden everything in your life is going to be rainbows and roses. That's not my own experience. I don't think that that's likely to be the case for you either. It could be. I mean, I can't deny the possibility of it, but it seems unlikely. And so I want to be upfront about that so that you don't have the wrong expectation and then feel disappointed because, well, Joey said that if I do this, if I take 1 minute a day for 30 days, then my life is going to be rainbows and roses, and it's not all rainbows and roses. So, um, I'm saying this is a, a fairly essential starting point, from my perspective. And if you do this, my my belief uh, is that you will find that this produces, starts to unlock things for you, starts to allow you to start to get unstuck. Again, I'm not saying everything is going to be rainbows and roses. I'm not saying that if you've been living in one way, denying yourself all these things, living in false pretense and so forth, that 30 minutes total over 30 days is going to completely transform that. But I am saying that it will begin the process of you getting unstuck. You will start to notice movement in your life that where you had been frustrated probably for a long time. Um, and as that starts to happen, then, like I said, other things are going to come up. And I don't know of a way to address all of that today, but I can make mention of a few things that I think will be useful to be aware of. One thing is that you're going to start to feel things. Not that you weren't feeling things before. I mean, I get it. You were feeling, everybody's been feeling lots of things, but you might start to feel some other things, or you might start to feel some things in some new ways. You might start to notice some shifts in feeling, some of which you might like, and some of which you might not be so sure about. And that's part of that's just part of change. So change is movement, and there's feeling involved in that. And um, the when our nervous systems seem to um, oftentimes interpret newness as a threat. So when you start to discover things, when you start to feel things, when there's change, when there's movement, when there's any kind of shifting whatsoever, when there's uncertainty, when things start to open up, when there's doubt cast on old beliefs, old patterns, then you might find that and I can't say that this will definitely happen, but it's possible that you might find that your nervous system interprets that as uh, in a negative way, might perceive some of that as a threat. So here is this is part of why the very first thing that I recommend, generally speaking, is uh, breath awareness. So many of you who are here today, you've heard me talk about breath awareness probably a number of times, and you were probably here. I don't remember how many weeks ago that was, 4 or 5 weeks ago, when I did a whole long, as usual, talk. Really dragged that one out, uh, just about breath awareness. And so for those who missed it, uh, that would be a good one. That would be a good one to go back and find. I before this goes on too much longer and I forget what video is what, I'm gonna I intend to create a playlist on YouTube, because this is part of a series, and I think work will probably work best if you go through all of the videos in the series. But the breath awareness uh, video, or breath awareness in general, can be enormously supportive and helpful. It's not that breath awareness itself is the magical thing. It's really the awareness. It's the self-awareness. But the breath awareness is one very simple, very accessible method, as it were, which allows people to have more self-awareness. So if that doesn't suit you, if that's not your thing, then you don't need to. Um, Obviously, you don't need to make use of that specific method. I also have a video somewhere on YouTube about what I call the active relaxation method, which is another method which can be very uh, supportive of the same thing, which is self-awareness. But the idea here is fundamentally it's about becoming consciously aware of yourself, slowing down enough internally and externally. It's not, the person's asking rapid resolution method. No, rapid resolution is a different method. Uh, so it's the active relaxation method. The idea, though, fundamentally is just to slow down and notice whatever it is that you can notice. So it could be internal, it could be external. The breath is uh, excellent because it's there. You don't have to go searching for it. Uh, so and if there's no breath, then there's just stillness, which is nice. So if there's movement of the breath, there's movement of the mind. And if there's any agitation, there's any discomfort, then there's movement of the mind, because that's a mental activity. And therefore, there's also movement of the breath. But when there's a cessation of the breath, there's also a cessation of movement of the mind, which means that then there's only self-awareness, or we could just say there's just awareness at that point. So that's one of the reasons why I like breath awareness, is because it resolves it. As long as there's breath, then it's this very accessible thing to be aware of. And if there's a cessation of breath, then there's only then there's only fulfillment in that instant. Um, but again, if you don't like that, you don't have to make use of it. But I do encourage you to just at least know that it's there for you. So the point is this: when you notice discomfort, resistance, which could show up in a lot of different ways, could be frustration, could be impatience, could be anger, could be resentment. I mean, so many different possibilities of how they could show up, but the underlying essence, I would call that discomfort. Uh, or we could call it agitation. But when you notice that, at any time, including within this process that I've suggested today, which is the inquiry into what do I really want, then it can be, I recommend that it's really an invitation to more self-awareness. And because what's happening is there's just movement, there's just activity. So there's something that's being freed up. There's something that's occurring. And that's good. That's natural. Life is already taking care of everything. Honestly, nature's already doing everything. But what happens is, it's like nature, you are nature. You're not separate from nature. Nature is all of the parts of you. So you already are perfect. Everything's already there. And if you didn't interfere with that, then you have perfect completion, harmony, resolution. Everything's great. But what happens again is that there's this long tradition of there's something wrong with you and you better get yourself under control and you better, so we learn to now intervene and interfere and try to control ourselves. So we've identified as this manager, okay, that part's bad. That part goes over there. We'll lock that part in the dungeon. This part's good. This part gets rewarded. We'll encourage more of this part. Unfortunately, I'm miserable, but I can, I'll try to manage it all, so that we become identified with that management function. And, and then we become distrustful of nature. So when we start to unlock things, we start to be, not always, but it can happen that we can start, like I say, start to feel uncomfortable because we can start to feel threatened. Oh no, what does this mean? Is this bad? This must be bad. This could only be bad. No good could come from this. This doesn't seem to fit in with my plans for things, my plans for how I'm gonna hold it together and present myself in a acceptable way so that I can get the approval and love of others and so forth and so on. And so we become distrustful of it. And what I'm saying is that it's it it's our interference, which is actually leading to us being stuck. So when things start to open up, when there's movement again, then that's actually a very positive sign. Uh, you don't need to ever force anything. So just because movement is a good thing doesn't mean more movement is necessarily good. I mean, if more movement happens naturally, then that's fine. But I'm just saying, don't think you should ever try to force more. But as more, not as more, as movement is happening, if you feel uncomfortable, if that's stimulating in ways that you're unfamiliar that are unfamiliar and that you start to feel threatened and afraid or whatever it might be, then what I believe is that what is being called for is more self-awareness because the self-awareness is ultimately the recognition of this oneness with nature, allowing for that to occur, allowing yourself to be supported by that. That all of like you don't beat your heart. I don't. Is there anybody here who beats your own heart? I shouldn't have been so presumptuous, but I'm assuming nobody here beats your own heart. I heard a story. I don't know if it's a true story, but it's probably not a true story. But it's an interest. It's a teaching tale about the yogi uh, who gained total conscious control over beating his heart, and then he forgot how to do it. So yeah, that was the end of him. It was the end of the yogi. Um, he's just beating his own heart consciously for, I don't know, days, months, years. And then one day he forgot how to do it. And so, but nature is supporting us. Nature is taking care of all of these things. We, uh, as far as it goes, we trust nature with many things. So um, the just think for an instant about all of the ways in which nature is taking care of things perfectly, inside and outside. So nature, like I already said, nature is beating your heart. Nature knows how to blink your eyes at the appropriate times. Nature knows how to produce the all of the tears to keep the eyes lubricated. Nature knows how to take the food that you eat and convert that into whatever, energy and flesh and all the things that it turns it into. Nature knows how to grow your hair, and nature knows how to heal a wound, and nature knows how to make your fingernails and toenails grow. Nature does all the things, right? Inside. And then outside, nature is taking care of everything. It's like provides the air for you. Nature provides gravity and the earth. Nature ensures that all of uh, there's an atmosphere so that the air can be contained and so that all the little space things are not crashing into us. Nature is organizing all of the things in cosmic scale and and in personal scale, macro and micro. But then we say, oh, but this sensation, this movement, this thing, oh no, 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 no. Oh no. No, no, no. That is no good. That nature's got that wrong. This shouldn't happen. So the self-awareness is when that just to notice when that's happening, to notice that it actually is not in your best interest because you've been trained to try and micromanage things that are not actually yours to manage. And the result of that is you get stuck, frustrated, you maybe even get to places of despair. So, uh, So when there's movement, then it can be a reminder that, oh, this is good. Nature, I'm I'm finally allowing nature to do nature's thing instead of me trying to micromanage nature, which I'm not really in a position to do. I don't have that knowledge or capability. I don't know how to manage these things, but fortunately, nature does. So then you can attend to what is yours to attend to instead of trying to attend to controlling all of the sensations and all of the things. Oh God, not that sensation. Oh, that would be the end of the world, which you can't do. You can only make yourself really miserable trying to do that. But instead, what is yours to attend to is to notice how you compulsively try to micromanage those things. So, so this is where the breath awareness is can be very, very powerful. And again, it's just one method, but if you happen to recall the when I gave the brief guided exploration for breath awareness some weeks ago, you might recall some of the suggestions that I gave, and you could notice that now. You could notice, like, even as you notice your breath now, you could just notice how there are habitual, largely unconscious, compulsive ways in which you have learned to try and control it. And if you really just start to tune into that, you notice, oh, that doesn't feel good at all, actually. But these were things that you learned because it was how you learned to manage your feelings, sensations, thoughts, emotions. And so it served it was there was a purpose to it. It just turns out it's not really giving you good results. So by being aware of the breath and starting to notice how the breath actually is given by nature. The breath is already taken care of by nature. If you don't interfere, you can interfere, obviously, but if you don't interfere, then just start to notice how nice it is. It's so pleasant. It's so satisfying. It couldn't even get more satisfying. It can get to a point where it's so satisfying, it ceases, you cease to even have any experience of it at all. That's how complete it can be. So absolutely complete that you say, ah, and there's no you breathing. There's no you aware of the breath. There's no even sense of movement. There's just like a oneness. And that's not even difficult to achieve, let's say. In fact, that's natural. That's natural to you. But we've learned to do what is unnatural, which is squeeze, hold, all these things, trying to control it. But it's unconscious. So, in order to allow for nature to give the breath, to breathe us, we need to tune into it and start to receive the breath and notice how it is that we habitually, compulsively, unconsciously have prevented ourselves from receiving the breath. And by being aware in that way, we start to allow for that to open up so that nature can move in the way that nature knows how to do that I don't know how to do consciously. I don't want to know how to do that consciously. I don't want to be occupied by that. And I don't think you do either. I mean, it's possible there's somebody here who that's your purpose in life. And if so, then that you'll find that totally fulfilling. But for the rest of us, we don't want to be doing that. We don't want to be trying to constantly, ooh, let me manage this and control this sensation and make sure the sensation doesn't move and then it stays over there. I mean, that's not what we want. So it's just a matter of allowing for nature to do what it does. So breath awareness can be extremely useful. If you don't like that, consider the active relaxation method, which is in many ways very similar. You can use them in combination, which can be very powerful. And if you don't like any of that, then uh, figure something else out. So there's that. Then, and then I think I'm gonna say one more thing that I'm gonna address one more thing that I think can is likely to come up uh, in response to the general invitation for today, which is to inquire consistently, regularly into what is it that I really want. Uh, and then after I address this, then I'll take questions in the comment section. So the other thing, and again, there are, I think many things that could come up, but one other thing that I think can that's likely to come up that some people could find uncomfortable is that as you are becoming more aware, clearer of what you really want, you might start to notice that now your mind turns that into a new problem. Uh, how 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 can I achieve what it is that I really want? If as you start to become more aware, because uh that's how we've been trained usually is just to turn things into problems. So you might, if you start to get clarity that what you want is uh you know to like work as an Elvis impersonator in Vegas or something. But currently you're living a very different lifestyle. Uh then your mind might start to go to town with that and say, "Oh, how will I do that?" And that's shameful. I'm not saying it's shameful, but like your mind might say it's shameful, and and I'm no good at it, and I can't make any money, and I'll end up toothless, homeless under the bridge, and all the things. And so, I would say, especially at this point in the process, just know that that's really just more of the movement that I was referring to a moment ago. So what's really called for there is just more self-awareness, just using like breath awareness or active relaxation or whatever else works for you. There's more that can be done with all of this, but at this stage, I really wouldn't recommend, well, at any stage, I wouldn't recommend spending a lot of energy thinking about those things. About, oh, how will I do it and what what will it mean and all of that. I, it it at this point, it's really just about freeing things up, allowing the movement to occur, and starting to really trust in that process, starting to trust in the intelligence of nature to take care. Uh, you were you your fulfillment it comes through you being yourself. So you being somebody else will not give you fulfillment. Doesn't matter how perfectly you pull that off. You could be somebody else better than they are, but you won't achieve fulfillment through that. Your fulfillment is in you being you. And so even though due to the conditioning at first, or maybe even for a while, it's possible that you might experience fear, resistance, discomfort, disturbance, uh, as more clarity about yourself, your true desires, your true fulfillment is emerging. Um, but don't worry about it because, like I said, you don't feel any obligation to take any action in regard to any of that just yet. Trust that n nature will show you the way, really will. Just nature is so good at that. And, like water always finds its way. So nature is good like that. So nature is finding its way through you and as you just allow that. Don't think I have to do something. I have to make radical changes. Don't think any of that. Just trust that the more clarity you get and the more self-awareness you have, then the way will be shown to you. And don't think about time or any of these things. Because I know that's another thing that people will get into, oh, it's too late for me or whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. Time, time is not, see, because time is in nature. Time is a quality of nature. So nature cannot be in any way constrained by time. So you never worry about time either. Nature will find its way as long as you are willing to cooperate. Um, so that's what I wanted to say for today. So just to recap, the essence is uh, knowing what you want is really important because if you don't know what you want, you're going to chase after all kinds of things, but chances of that what you chase what the chances that you're going to chase after the things that are actually authentic for you is like zero pretty much because I mean just mathematically you've got uh infinitely many possible expressions and and if whatever you're doing no matter how many different things you try the mathematically that still works out to pretty much zero because it's up against infinity. Um, so infinity. You can't really defeat infinity. It's really, really, really big. It's infinitely big, in fact. So I wouldn't try that approach. Instead, just trust in nature to reveal to you through you, because it's already there in you as you, what your actual design is, what your actual I call the shape of your soul is, all you have to do is just be willing to open to that. And so the uh, practice, if you will, is to just ask yourself every day, what is it I really want? And to take a moment to sincerely receive clarity from within yourself about that. I shouldn't have to say this, but I'll just say it anyway. Please don't use AI for this. Please do not use AI for this. There's no place for AI in any of this. AI does not know anything about you, cannot know anything about you. It cannot. Because it's not, this isn't talking about analyzing your habits or your any of that. This is about your soul. And at least not yet, They haven't figured out how to access your soul, and don't let them. So you don't need to use any other tools. You don't need to use you don't need to ask anybody else because nobody else knows. You ask within yourself and trust what comes up within yourself. And again, you don't have to act on any of it because you might get responses that, like you could say, what do I really want? And it's possible you get a response that says, kill everybody. And you're like, whoa, that's interesting. I wouldn't recommend acting on that. That would be probably disastrous. Okay. So it's not that everything that comes up is means that is your destiny and you have to act on that. This is about really coming into right relationship with yourself, which is nature, and trusting in that and cultivating that trust and right relationship. And just you'll start to see that things emerge, clarity emerges because it's not really about who you are and what you really want is not something that's going to be captured in words anyway. So don't worry about getting exactly the right words. It's something that emerges more like it's more like abstract art in a way. Like it demands your uh the the relationship. You have to be present to it. You have to be receptive. You have to be interacting in order for it to work. So don't get hung up on any of that. Just uh, explore that sincerely, regularly, and you'll see how this clarity starts to emerge. You'll start to recognize this, what I'm referring to as the shape of your soul, not something that's gonna, like I gave these sort of silly, superficial examples, like you want to you want to be a Elvis impersonator in Vegas. I mean, like it could look like that. Obviously your life is going to look like something, but 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 your life can't be captured by any one thing, right? Because even a person who works as an Elvis impersonator in Vegas is that's not who they are. That's part of it, right? That's part of the expression, but it's not the whole of it. So just trust in the process. And then for those who want to take this to the next level, I do recommend that you write your uncensored response to the prompt, what do I really want, every day for at least 10 minutes. Um, please report back to me your results, if you will. I would really genuinely appreciate knowing that. And then I'll respond to questions that are in the chat. And then when we're done with that, then we'll be done. So let me see what's in the chat. Okay, we got a long one here, but let me see if I can. So it says, when it comes to putting attention, and this was from early on. When it comes to putting attention on what you want and you talk about sustaining attention, what if you imagine and you lose focus? Is that okay? So it seems like many questions. So I'll address them one at a time. So yes, um, so so uh, so attention is the way, it is your power by which you direct energy. And so whatever you place your attention on, that's where the energy is directed. And the more you sustain attention on one thing, it's the most efficient way to give energy to that one thing. Because I mean, there are probably other reasons in this, but one thing that I can say about that is when we switch attention, then um, a the there's a loss of uh, significant loss of efficiency. So if you have, let's say, three things, we'll call them A, B, and C, and so you put attention on A, and then you put attention on B, and then you put attention on C. And did the question is did 100% of the energy go to A, B, and C? Did it get divided like 33, 33, and 33%, or third, and third? And the answer to that is no. Um, in part because when you switch between them, the some amount of that energy is I'll just say it's not it's not directed. So it ends up being dispersed, maybe we could say. Um, so and then there's also a matter of when if you switch between A and B, then when you're giving attention to B, not all of your attention is going to B. Some of it is still remaining on A. So then if you say, well, what I want is A, and you give attention to A, and then you realize, what I don't actually want A. What I want is B. Then you give attention to B. Um, you're not you you're it takes a while before you can give close to 100% of your attention to B, even though it might seem to you consciously to be so. It's not actually so. There's still residual energy that's going unconsciously to A. And so I would so sustained attention on one thing is efficient, is a very much more efficient way to give energy to something, but which is why it's a useful skill to develop. But uh, let's face it, we're not very good with that. So, it's okay. It's totally fine. It's not ideal, but it's also just how it is. So you got to work with what you got. Um, and so if you keep so so coming back to whatever you want, this is again the power of of daily asking yourself, what do you really want? Because if you don't do that, then you're less likely to keep coming back to something of closer and closer clarity. So just keep coming back. It's fine. You don't have to worry about whether you can sustain it for a long period of time or not. It's like I said, it's ideal if you can, but the, we just generally don't know how to do that. Um, then this person says, I noticed with simple things like going to the store, if I imagine myself buying something I want in the store, it happens so effortlessly. If you remove limiting beliefs when trying to achieve a bigger goal, is it supposed to manifest as effortlessly as going to the store? Well, yeah. I mean, that so that anything that you if you know what you want, there's it's like here's a formula for you. Uh, in order to achieve what you want, you need three things. You need to know what you want. You need to know how to achieve what you want, and then you need to have no resistance to achieving what you want. When you optimize those three things, then the outcome is that you achieve what you want effortlessly, right? I mean, just think about it. Think about things like going to a store and buying something, which is the example you give. Um, that seems that seems effortless to you now, uh, because you know, in that case, you know that that's what you want. You have, you know how to do it, and you have no significant resistance to doing it. But there was a time in your life when you did not know how to do that. I mean, when you were 1 year old, I'm pretty sure you didn't know how to go to the store and buy something. So if when you were 1 year old, somebody had said, go to the store and buy something, you would not have been able to pull that off at that time, at least not without some training and practice. So, so the uh, everything is like that. We're learning we're learning these steps. So the first thing in the process is you got to know what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, then you're going to be putting your energy toward things that are probably not what you want. Second thing then is you got to know how, and how often will take care of itself as long as you know what. I mean, think about it. If you want something enough, you just keep putting attention on it, then that the how is mostly going to take care of itself. I mean, you might have to get some lessons or something, but but you're only going to get the lessons as needed if you know what first. But once you have the burning desire for something, you're going to find a way. It's like where there's a will, there's a way. So the how might not instantaneously manifest, but it will as long as you persist with the clarity of what you want. This is why I emphasize what so much, because what, first of all, you have to know the what first, and secondly, the what takes care of the how by to a large extent. And then in terms of the resistance, which can show up in terms of limiting beliefs, uh, yeah, if the what if you know what you want and you want it enough, and you know how, you can probably, well, you can through, let's say, force of will, which I don't usually recommend relying on, but you can overcome substantial amounts of resistance just with that. It's not optimal because will is slowly renewable. So you can easily deplete your will, uh, which is a bad situation to be in. Don't ask me how I know. And um, you could ask me how I know, but I think it's obvious. So the removing, let's say, or releasing the resistance or the limiting beliefs is, in my view, wise, because it just dramatically increases the efficiency, makes it a much more enjoyable process, allows you to retain a lot more energy. There's so many positive things about it. Um, but also knowing what you want is still the biggest driver, because the resistance, you can't know what the specific resistance is until you know what. And when you know what, using just what I've shared today about self-awareness, you can release most, if not all, resistance. But with that said, what I shared today about like breath awareness and active relaxation as methods for developing that self-awareness, that's although it's what I just said is true, you can release most, if not all, of the resistance using just those methods. Uh, that's somewhat advanced in some ways for some people. So there are other things that can be supportive for releasing limiting beliefs and other kinds of resistance. But for somebody who's really determined, just what I shared today would be sufficient knowledge and resources in order to be able to achieve that result. And yes, when you do that, then you can manifest anything just as effortlessly as anything else. There's no difference in difficulty or anything like that. It's only a matter of knowing what, how, and having the efficiency of not having resistance. Okay, so somebody says, I already asked myself this and my life didn't change and I don't do anything different so the point is just knowing what I want and don't do. No, um, so if you know what you want, this is just basically what I was just saying, but if you know what you want, uh, then when you really, really, really know what you want, whoops, then like I was saying a moment ago, the how will resolve itself. And if you have the motivation uh to, if you really want what you want, and you know how, then the only thing that I can think of at the moment that would be holding you back, well, let me take a step back before I say that. So if you know what you want and you know how, then it should naturally occur that you would take whatever action. I mean, the action should flow, uh, unless, let me take one more step back. So if you know what you want, then there may be action required of you in order to satisfy that. Um, and if that action requires that you uh, do, if the action is something that you don't know how to do, then it would be necessary for you to to learn how to do whatever that action is. And as I was saying, when you really know what you want, by virtue of the fact that you really want it and you're putting attention on it consistently, uh, you will normally find that you will acquire whatever knowledge you need in order to know how to take whatever action is required. Now, with that said, the remaining piece would be resistance. So it could be, and in your case, it seems to me, because of interactions that we've had, it seems to me that you do have some significant resistance, uh, or you have had some significant resistance. And um, I think that uh, in that kind of case, then just addressing the resistance is the would be the most sensible step to take, which you're doing. So I would recommend in this particular case, core transformation seems like a very useful process. Um, you're also participating in the Living Wholeness course, which is running at the moment. And there are a couple other processes in there that we're going to explore that you might also find are maybe your thing. It's hard to know on a hard to know what is going to click for a person. Hence the reason why I share different processes. So I think though that you'll find that if not core transformation, then one of those processes is going to help to open up and release some of that resistance. And I think that you'll notice then that that gives some change. This person says, for the rapid resolution method, do you think about the problem or do you have to feel it? I can't always feel the way I feel in the real life situation. Yeah. Um, so the uh, good question. For those who don't know what the rapid resolution method is, it's another method I share for because as the name suggests, for rapidly resolving or releasing unwanted emotional charges connected to particular triggers. And so if you, it's normal in many cases to not have a strong feeling uh, when thinking about or imagining whatever the triggering event or situation or person or whatever it is might be. Um, so that's okay. Uh, what really matters, though, I mean, what I would focus on is it giving you results. So if you're getting results, then you know that it obviously it's working. If it's not giving you results, then I I could give you suggestions, but on a one-to-one basis. So you want to try to find a way to schedule a time one-on-one with me so that we could explore that. This person says, so just ask yourself what you want and write that every day. All of our desires or our top one to three. Is this the same as putting attention on what you want? So the first question, just ask yourself what you want and write that every day. Yes. Second question, all of your desires or our top one to three. Well, you can't know what the top one to three are unless you give yourself permission to allow all of yourself to express. So at this point, I'm just suggesting just allow yourself to express whatever comes up. But it you will find uh I expect that you will find that naturally as you're doing this regularly that you'll, as I said earlier, you're going to get more clarity about what it is that really matters. So you should start to get that prioritization happening automatically. If you don't find that's the case, you can let me know. But at this stage, no, I don't recommend that you try and artificially limit it to top one to three. Um, at the point when you're just asking what do you want. So you ask what do you want, whatever it is that comes up, give just acknowledge that whether you're writing or not. If you're writing, obviously write it uncensored. If you want to take the next step, then yeah, great. Go back through that and then ask yourself what is here that is most important to me. You can put it in order of priority if you'd like. Um, and then the question is this the same as putting attention on what you want? Well, yes. Yeah. Okay. So this person says they're going to write 10 minutes per day for 30 days. And if there's no change after I give up improving myself, sounds like a deal. If you, if you're happy with that. Okay, this person says, yesterday I was really missing my ex-girlfriend and I wrote that I wanted her back. I started crying as I wrote this. Yeah, great. I mean, it's like that's good that you're acknowledging that there are parts of you uh that want these things because otherwise there's this largely unconscious negotiation that goes on where we're trying to manage and shut down parts of ourselves. And so, if there's a part of you that really is missing your ex-girlfriend, uh, it's good to acknowledge that. Think about uh, uh, a child who is feeling unhappy about something, feeling like there's something that they're wanting or needing that's not being addressed. They're wanting some kind of support in some way from someone, but they don't really know what that is or how to ask for it or anything like that. Uh, and if when they attempt in their own best way to express that want for support or acknowledgement, if those people around them just shut them down, what effect does that have? I mean, because we see this happening. I see this happening a lot. I mean, this is like very, very normal. Uh, you know, just just knock it off, stop that, don't behave like that. What's wrong with you? All this kind of talk and attitude. But w what the child is needing is to understand, to be acknowledged, and then to have some support in processing things for themselves. So it's the same with these parts of ourselves. So if there's a part of you that is missing your ex-girlfriend, and then unconsciously what happens is you're just telling that part, well, that's you're foolish and shut up and it was, and whatever, then that's not going to work out well. That part's just going to remain unfulfilled. But to acknowledge the part and just say, "Wow, okay, I hear you. You're missing your ex-girlfriend, and you're wanting her back. I hear you. That makes sense that you're feeling that way. Just that much uh, can be really helpful. You don't have to solve the problem. You don't have to say, "Okay, well, great, let's figure out how we're gonna get her back," or you don't have to do that. Just to acknowledge that there's a part of you that wants your ex-girlfriend back, and you don't have to have a commentary about it. You don't have to say that's good, bad, or otherwise. You can just say, yeah, I hear you. And that makes sense that you feel that way. And just like, and I'll continue to listen to you. You just let the parts know. Like, I'm going to continue to listen to you. I hear you're missing your ex-girlfriend. Okay. And I'll keep listening to you. But you really don't have to do anything more than that, most likely. And the crying is, like that's normal. It's normal because think about so you've So there's this part of you that's missing your ex-girlfriend, has these feelings, unresolved energy, unresolved emotion, but that was repressed. So to acknowledge that part then just allows the movement. And a lot of the time crying is something that for some people crying is I mean, oftentimes, not always the case, but oftentimes for men, crying is a thing that's harder to access. It's more repressed. Uh, so not that you need not that you need to cry, unless you do. But so I'm not saying, okay, let's form a men's group and let's all like cry together. We'll just cry and cry and cry, because that's going to solve our problems. But I mean, if you have a part of you that's feeling unfulfilled and is missing your ex-girlfriend, and that's connected to this sadness or this emotion or this feeling that would be maybe apparently most efficiently allowed to move through crying, and then you cry, and that's really good. That's amazing self-love and self-care to just give yourself that opportunity. And you don't need to solve any problems. You don't need to do anything about that because crying's not a problem. Sadness isn't a problem. Missing people is not a problem. But not acknowledging it becomes a problem. This person says, I've been trying to do the abundant vision guided meditation. I've been noticing my lips start to quiver while I do this. Is this a release of any tension built up over the, it could be, yeah. Um, so that kind of so this person is referring to a just it's just a specific breathing breath awareness practice uh from a course that I offered last month. Um, when when doing that, and this could happen with breath awareness, any breath awareness practice or active relaxation, uh, you could certainly notice that there could be those kinds of involuntary movements. And it's very normal. It does not have to happen, so people shouldn't look for that to happen or think that anything's not working if that's not happening. But if it does happen, it's perfectly normal. And it's just, as you say, it's just a release of tension. It doesn't have to be necessarily tension built up over the day. It could be just any tension, any repressed anything that's been held onto or locked up. And as you're allowing nature to do nature's thing without trying to micromanage, then nature's going to find the way to most efficiently uh, allow you to come into optimal harmony within yourself. So if that kind of thing happens, it's perfectly normal. As long as you feel comfortable with it, then just allow it to happen. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, you can uh, just stop the practice. If you have your eyes closed while you're doing the practice, you may find that just opening your eyes is sufficient um, to shift that. But again, it's only if you're uncomfortable. I mean, there's no harm in any of it because nature's taking care of everything. Nature's taking care of you. So nature's only going to take good care of you. You don't have to worry about any harm coming from that. Um, do note that that practice is there's nothing forceful about that. Uh, it's it's allowing the breath to occur naturally, so we're not doing anything to in any way artificially control the pattern of breathing. We do use intention just to be aware of the breath at different points or in different locations, but we're not trying to ever use force. So if you're, and I'm only pointing this out just in case, not just for you, but for anybody in general, if you're doing some practice that involves force and you're noticing something like that and you feel uncomfortable, I, I cannot endorse that. That's totally on you. If you want to do that, that's your business. But I don't advocate for forceful things. Certainly not done without expert, qualified guidance. Um, because because then you're taking things into your own hands instead of allowing nature to do things. So, but as long as you're not doing anything forceful, it's totally fine. And like I said, if you feel uncomfortable, you can stop. So it's good for you to know yourself and become as comfortable as you need to be, and you can take care of that. And if you have doubts or questions about that, you can let me know. Do I recommend, somebody wants to know, do I recommend a specific sport that helps to get breath awareness? No. I don't recommend against sport in general. Uh, I mean, personally, I'm not a, I'm not a personally a big sporting enthusiast. And I'm even less enthusiastic about violent sports like boxing. But I know people who find boxing actually specifically to be quite useful to them. So to each their own. I just I don't like getting hit or hitting. But no, I don't have any particular recommendations in that regard. If I think that if you want, I, I mean, I do think that bringing breath awareness to activity is really powerful. So, like walking and being aware of your breath can be really, really an effective method. So there's that. If you consider walking to be a sport, uh, I I don't I don't okay. So there's a person here who it took me a moment to understand this, but I think this person seems to have some strong feelings regarding some politicians or a politician in particular. And uh, I, what all I can really say about that is that the more it seems to me that the more uh, I'll put it this way. So if you think about the behaviors uh, of the people who you who so if you think about the the specific behaviors of people you don't like, the behaviors you don't like about specific people, say it that way, the behaviors you don't like. Okay. Now it's easy to make that about to think there's something about that person which is it's like that's just a bad person, a bad person who behaves badly. Bad person behaves badly. But I wonder what sort of person, or I'll put it this way, what how do you think a person would need to feel within themselves? What sort of experience do you think they would need to have within themselves in order to behave in those ways? This is, I think, a useful way to think about whether this is not just specific to this one politician, but this could be any person. Um, so how and what I think is that in order for a person to behave in those ways, they would have to be feeling pretty bad. I don't think there are bad people. I think there are people who are feeling bad. I think there are people who feel, they're in pain, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain. There are people who are feeling insecure, people who are feeling that they don't have what they need. It's a lot of variations on feeling bad within themselves. I think when people are feeling really good, I think they behave well. I mean, I think if people peop, people are feeling secure, loved, that they have enough, uh, then I don't think under those circumstances people behave in unkind ways. Um, Point being, rather my personal approach, which you are free to do what you want with, it's your business. But I'll just share it just in case it's of benefit or value to anybody else. Is I prefer to just think that I just think I prefer to have the intention, may these people feel good. May they have what they need to uh, feel supported to uh, to to live their lives in good ways. Uh, just prefer that. I think that's much more useful. I don't find any. I don't find any benefit in wishing people badly. So that's what I can say about that. Somebody says to get money, we need to manage things. It doesn't pop up by magic. I mean, money can pop up by magic, but it's not clearly not the only way. I mean, in some ways, it's always magic, but um, yeah, I mean, if you want money, so the thing is, wanting money is, I mean, yes, everybody wants to have, uh, if not money, they want what money represents, which is to be able to provide for your uh your basic needs and to secure access to the uh say resources to allow you to express yourself in the ways that you want to. But if we just focus on money, as many people do, then it doesn't really work out so well. So I don't really recommend just focusing on money because I don't think that what you want actually is money. I'm not denying that you want money as a stepping stone or as a vehicle because I do too. I mean, I'm not like, and anybody who wants to send me some money, just send me an email and let me know, and I'm happy to arrange for that. But but it's not really about the money. And if you just focus on the money, this is what I was talking about at the beginning. It's superficial. It's a superficial level, which is unlikely. No, not just unlikely. It will not lead you directly to experiencing the fulfillment that you're actually seeking for. Oops. Lost this way. This person says, I find that many times when I ask myself what I want, the immediate answer is clarity. I think because it gives me comfort, it makes me feel better knowing that what I want is received with absolute clarity. Yeah. And so clarity can be I mean, first of all, I would say great. I mean, and trust in that process. So if you're asking and you get a response within yourself, then that's awesome. And uh, so clarity is so now you can get more clarity about clarity, right? I mean, that's why I said that I think it's a lifetime process. I don't think this is a that we're gonna get the answer and then be done. I don't think that you're gonna for 30 days you're gonna ask what do I really want, and then after 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or 180 days or 365 days or whatever, I don't think you're gonna just be like, okay, now I got the answer. Now I'm done. Because there's there's you can just continue and continue and continue to receive more clarity about clarity until you have such clarity that then there's no you to want anything, right? I mean, when there's as long as there's you who's wanting something or who perceives that you don't have something or whatever, how you understand that, then you continue. I would recommend continuing to ask, what do I really want? Uh, at some point, then that process resolves. But then there's nobody who's wanting anything. So as long as but until that's what I call, this mythical level 27 enlightenment. Until level 27, then when you say what do I want and the answer is clarity, then you can continue to investigate to understand for yourself what is that clarity? Clarity, clarity, in what way? Uh, how will I know that I have the clarity? What does this clarity look like? What does it feel like? You just keep investigating and you can keep getting more clarity about clarity. Somebody wants to know, do you do breath awareness throughout the day? You mean me personally? Or do you mean do I recommend practicing breath awareness? I'll answer, I guess the answer to both questions is yes. Um, but just to clarify, I do recommend in general, I recommend doing it formally for whatever's comfortable for you to the edge of that. Could be 30 seconds, it could be a minute, it could be 5 minutes, whatever is nice for you. Um, it shouldn't be, if you just say, oh, I'll practice breath awareness for 1 second, it's like, okay, probably not that helpful. Could be, but probably not. So you probably want to find what is a good duration for you. But again, it could be 30 seconds or it could be 5 minutes, uh, whatever works for you. That feels like it's comfortable, but there's a bit of an edge to it. Because if it's just 1 second, it's like so there's no edge there at all to really explore. Um, but if at the end of 30 seconds, pretty reliably, you start to feel like, oh, okay, I'm feeling a little done, then that's an edge. Um, but if that's, find that for yourself that whatever works for you. Um, but that's for a couple of reasons. I mean, one is because because then it's easier to establish a habit. If you do something as a habit, then you'll becomes automatic and you learn from that. So doing it formally, I recommend same place, same time because that's how habits work, or that's how they work best. It's easiest to establish them that way. Uh, and then ideally, you're going to want, and it should happen naturally, then that just starts to transfer over into the rest of your life. So then, you're like, wherever you're standing in line at the supermarket, driving your car, washing the dishes, whatever you're doing, you could also be aware of your breath. Um, but at first, I would start. I would recommend by starting with the formal practice. But the formal practice is just really more like a for training. The rest of it's really ideally to transfer over to the rest of your life. Because the point is not so that you can like sit and be aware of your breath for long periods of time. I mean, that might be interesting. Um, could be many benefits of that potentially, but the from my perspective, it's probably more beneficial to have the benefits that come from being aware of yourself throughout your day. But the formal practice is the starting point because it's just helpful. It's easier to establish a habit that way. This person says, is the movement when we experience the fears and resistance as opposed to no response? Is the movement when we experience the fears and resistance? Oh, is the movement when we experience the fears and resistance as opposed to no response? Still not sure I understand the question, but let me just see if there is the movement. Yeah, well, not, yes, I know I spoke about the movement. I'm just wondering. So the movement, when we experience the fears and resistance, well, what I was saying about the movement is um, that genuinely inquiring into what we really want and allowing all parts of ourselves to express is allowing more movement. And as that movement is occurring, because it starts to open up things, start to acknowledge these parts of ourselves, desires that we have that we might have denied or overlooked, um, starting to get more clarity about what's really meaningful, important to us, starting to let go of things that we thought were important that turn out not to be important. Uh, just a lot of movement that's occurring there. And as that movement is occurring, what I was saying is that the fear and resistance uh, could be one way in which the nervous system might interpret or react to the movement. It doesn't have to happen, but it can happen because it's just about the movement just is indicating, okay, there's some change, something's happening, there's something new, something different, and then the nervous system sometimes interprets that as this is a threat. The nervous system does tend to have a preference for stability, even if the stability is not very nice. So movement, then change can be perceived as a threat, even if the movement is opening things up in a way that ultimately is more fulfilling, more easeful, more pleasurable. Uh, the the initial reaction can be, and it's not unusual for it to be one of a perception of threat, which would then be reacted to with fear or resistance. So that's what I was saying. But it doesn't have to happen. It just might happen. Somebody says, you mentioned the self as being the shape of our soul. Could you elaborate on that, please? I'd love to know what constitutes our soul. Is it God flowing through the physical manifestation of our genetics or something else entirely? Uh, well, it's more poetic uh, language than anything else, but it's just to give an idea of that there's some uniqueness there. I mean, ultimately, uh, I mean the big revelation, the big punchline is that uh, you are that, meaning so uh, uh, the the sense of being someone, the sense of being uh, a an individual uh, is gives rise to this idea that there is some there is some kind of separate self, and then that gives rise to the idea that there is some uh, cosmic self or cosmic being, and the revelation is that they are one, same, non-different. I shouldn't say same, non-different. Uh, so like I mean the traditional analogy that's used is like a the ocean and the drop of the ocean. They're both water. So is there a difference between the ocean and the drop? Yes, but but the same, it's the same substance. So there's no difference between the water of the drop and the water of the ocean. Same water. Water is its actual nature. And so but we could say the drop of water, uh okay. So I'll go here, even though it's silly, but they say that every snowflake is unique, hence the special snowflake idea. Um, so you've got same water, one water, no difference in the water, but the shape is different. So there's one consciousness, only one consciousness. There's not more than one consciousness. And that one consciousness is dreaming. And that one consciousness is dreaming that it is you. And so uh, the who you are is that consciousness. You're never not that consciousness. You couldn't be anything other than consciousness. But as a expression in the dream, there's a unique shape. So I'm using this term soul here to refer to uh, that expression within the dream. So the so that is it's only consciousness. It can't be anything other than consciousness. But as far as it goes, I mean, if you look at all the people here, we're different. So it's all consciousness. So it's just expressing in different shapes, but this underlying substance is only consciousness. So same consciousness, different forms. So that's what I'm referring to as shape of the soul. Somebody wants to know, is the why important? Why is why can be useful uh, maybe it's useful in other ways, but the only way that comes to mind that I've found why to be useful is um, to get to the deeper layers of the desire. So I usually use the prompt, what does that give you, instead of why do you want that? But you can use the question, why do you want that, to achieve the same thing. Or you could say, what's important about that? What will that give you? Or why do you want that? So if you say, what do I really want? And you say, I want $1 billion. And you say, okay. And what will that give you when you have $1 billion? Or you could say, and why is that? Why do you want $1 billion? Um, I'm just not in the habit of using the question why, but if you if you like it, you feel free to use it. Um, that's the way that that's the way that I've found it's useful. But at this point in the process, I'm not recommending it. I'm really honestly just recommending just unlocking things by just asking yourself, what do I really want? And just allowing yourself to connect to the all of yourself, to just listen and establish, just cultivate that relationship with all of yourself so that you can really start to notice what is emerging. And then you can there's plenty of opportunity for investigating later with other methods if useful and necessary. Uh-huh. Uh, thank you to the person who uh, followed up on that other comment about the politician. I'm glad that that you were receptive to that. Um, and it seems like we got through all of them. All right. Well, thank you to all of you. Blessings to you all. Take care. Bye for now.